So, Sony's highest-end 4K LCD of 2020 has hit the stores, and we bought the 55-inch model. On paper, it appears to tick all the boxes, such as full-array local dimming and the holy grail of LCD tech, a TV that balances both wide viewing angles with Sony's X-wide-angle technology and a VA panel with high contrast. In this video, we'll put the TV to the test and see if it lives up to the hype of its predecessor, the X950G from last year. Hi, I'm Daniel from Ratings.com, where we help people find the best products for their needs. Make sure you subscribe to our channel for the latest videos, or check out our website for the full review. We're going to start by looking at the design of the TV, and then move on to our picture quality tests. We'll also look at the motion handling and input lag for any sports fans or gamers. We'll check out the sound and smart features, and then finish with an overview. As always, you can check out the timestamps in the description below, or the YouTube chapters to skip to what you care about. We bought the 55-inch model of the X950H, but we expect our results to be valid for the larger sizes as well, up to 85 inches. There's also a 49-inch model available, which doesn't have the X-wide-angle feature, but we'll discuss the impact of this later on in the review. Depending on your region, this TV may also be known as the XH95, but we expect the performance to be the same as the US model that we bought. The design of this TV is very similar to other Sony TVs, which is good. Sony TVs tend to have a minimalistic design, which works well and is very functional without looking too flashy. The stand is adjustable between two positions. This is the narrower position, but it can also be moved to the sides of the TV. It supports the TV well and feels stable, but in either configuration it does have quite a large footprint and requires a large table. The borders are thin and look good, and definitely aren't distracting, which is great. The single button to control the TV is located on the front under the Sony logo. Unfortunately, there's only a single button, which is a step down from the X950G, which had three. This single button means that you need to use a combination of presses and holds to change the input or adjust the volume. Looking at the side of the TV, it's relatively thin and looks good, so will look nice mounted against a wall. Also, the inputs are located on the left-hand side of the TV and are relatively easy to access. There's the usual range of inputs, including 4 HDMI ports, as well as 2 USB ports and a digital optical out port. Unlike many newer TVs, there's also an analog video input, which is nice for those with older devices, as you can buy an adapter to connect the TV to your older DVD player or camera with a composite port. Now, this labeled HDMI port can also be used for eARC to transfer high-quality sound from your TV to your soundbar or receiver. We'll talk more about the capabilities of these HDMI ports later on in the supported resolution section of this review. Like many Sony TVs, the X950H also has cable management. You can route cables through a clip on the back of the stand to keep them out of sight for a nice clean setup. So that's it for the design, and we'll now move on to the picture quality. We'll be comparing to currently available TVs, but competing models may change as new TVs are released throughout the year. For an updated comparison with new models as we buy and test them, see the review page on our website, which is linked down below. First up, the contrast ratio. The contrast ratio of a display is the relative brightness of the brightest whites in a scene when compared to the deepest blacks. We measure this on a checkerboard pattern, both with and without local dimming. The contrast of the X950H is good, but on the lower range of typical VA TVs. This is because this TV has a wide viewing angle feature, which we'll check out later. We've found in the past that these wide viewing angle features can result in lower contrast ratios, but in the case of the X950H, it doesn't seem to hurt it too much, which is great. It does mean that the smaller 49-inch model may have a slightly higher contrast, but we don't know as we haven't tested it. So now onto the local dimming. Local dimming is a feature which allows the TV to control or turn off different areas of the backlight to produce deeper areas of dark scenes and improve the picture quality. The X950H has a good local dimming feature. In normal content, there's more dimming rather than blooming around bright objects, but not to the point of crushing small highlights or losing detail. Overall, we found that the local dimming is handled better than last year's X950G. So now onto the viewing angle. This is where we can really see the impact of Sony's X-wide-angle technology. We don't know exactly how this works, but suspect that there's an additional layer that acts as a lens to diffuse the light from the screen horizontally. The good news is that this definitely offers an improvement over most VA-type panels, and it should be fine for most people. Note that the 49-inch model doesn't have this feature, so we expect it to have worse viewing angles than the larger sizes. So now onto the reflection handling. Good reflection handling is important if you have a room with some lights to prevent dark scenes from getting washed out by the ambient light. An interesting side effect of the X wide-angle feature is unique-looking reflections, where patterns and rainbows are diffused horizontally. This isn't too distracting though, and overall the reflection handling is excellent, even for a bright room. Now, also important for a bright room is the ability to get the screen nice and bright. Overall, the brightness varies depending on the scene as expected, but it's still very high with the extended dynamic range set to high. Combined with the excellent reflection handling, it should be fine for the brightest of rooms. In HDR, a high peak brightness is important to make highlights stand out. The X950H gets really bright on our real scene test pattern, which is excellent. It isn't quite as bright as the X950G, but this may also be due to the viewing angle layer, which diffuses light horizontally. It's still a great result and makes it a good choice for those who like bright HDR highlights. If you watch HDR and like an image that pops, then a wide color gamut and high color volume is important to display the wider color spaces available in HDR. The X950H has a great wide color gamut, which is nice to see as an improvement over the older X950G. Now, we test the gray uniformity of each TV by taking a photo of a mid-level gray and a dark gray. This shows uniformity issues which affect all colors, including dirty screen effect or vignetting, which can be distracting when watching sports or playing video games. The X950H has a good uniformity, so it won't really be distracting for most people, which is good. Note that this does vary between units due to tolerances in the manufacturing process, but we expect our unit to be representative. Let us know in the comments down below if you buy this TV and how yours compares. So now onto the motion handling, and we'll start with the response time. To learn more about motion on TVs, check out our video series, which should be linked up here. In short, the response time is an average of the time it takes a display to transition from one frame to the next. A high response time results in blurry images when watching sports or playing video games. The X950H has a fast response time, which is great, resulting in clear images without much motion blur. Those sensitive to it may notice slight overshooting in dark scenes, causing some artifacts, but we don't expect this to be a problem for most people. The photo of our moving logo also looks smooth and clear, and the backlight flicker at 720 Hz isn't really noticeable. So while the TV isn't flicker-free, it also shouldn't be a problem for most people. For those who really care about the clearest motion, black frame insertion is a feature which flickers the backlight, reducing persistence blur. On this TV and most other Sonys, it can be enabled by increasing the clearness slider in the motion flow menu. It works fairly well, as you can see in our moving logo photo. However, for 60 Hz content, the minimum backlight flicker is 120 Hz, which results in the duplications visible. Now, often one of the most important aspects for gamers is a low input lag. At about 19 milliseconds for 60 Hz signals, the X950H feels very responsive when changing to the game or graphics picture modes. Unfortunately, unlike some newer Samsung and LG models, the X950H doesn't support the auto low latency feature to do this automatically. The input lag does drop for 120 Hz signals, so it feels even more responsive, which is nice. Overall, it's a good result for gamers and within a few milliseconds either way of most newer TVs. Now, it came as a big surprise that when many other manufacturers were announcing HDMI 2.1 features, Sony remained pretty quiet. Support for these features on the X950H are unfortunately lacking, even the ones that don't require extra bandwidth, which seems a bit strange. This TV doesn't support variable refresh rates, auto low latency mode, or higher than HDMI 2.0 bandwidth. For most people, this doesn't matter too much, but if you want the latest and greatest features, you may want to look elsewhere. So now onto the smart features. Like other Sony TVs, this one runs Android TV, which works well and feels very smooth. This is great because Sony TVs have a bit of a reputation of a slow interface, but this seems to be changing. With access to the Google Play Store, there's a huge variety of apps, and the large remote works well to browse through content or to quickly get to Netflix. And lastly, for the sound. The X950H has a microphone in the remote to apply room correction, which is great, and results in a good, well-balanced frequency response. It also gets very loud, but as usual, if you're after more thump or rumble from the bass, then look for a soundbar or external speakers. So overall, the X950H is a solid all-around performer. While it closely resembles the previous X950G, it does offer some small improvements with a slightly better color gamut, better reflection handling, and some improvements to local dimming. For most people though, the cheaper model is probably the way to go. So that's it. What do you think of the Sony X950H? In the future, we'll do more of a head-to-head comparison with other models, so let us know in the comments below which TV you'd like us to compare it to. You can also check out all of our measurements on our website. And if you like this video, subscribe to our channel or become an insider on the website for access to our latest test results first. Also, we're currently hiring in our offices in Montreal for various positions, so if you want to help people find the best product for their needs, have a look at the careers page on our website. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.